Hi, and welcome back to the New York Virtual Photo Salon. I'm Lavon Hall, your host for this event. Thanks to those who tuned in last time. I hope it was intriguing for you. But if you've missed it and the rest of our awesome speakers, click on the links in the description. I'm ecstatic for tonight's guest photographer, Sabrina Giacomaggio. Her story and process is quite thought-provoking. Leave us comments, subscribe, and like this channel. Now sit back and enjoy the show. Thanks for watching.
Hi everyone, my name is Sabrina Giacomaggio. I am a documentary and narrative-based photographer. I'm currently a senior at the Fashion Institute of Technology in the Photography BFA program. I'm going to be talking about a long-form documentary series I created with my mother called Sending Thoughts and Prayers. Sending Thoughts and Prayers was initially created out of necessity for me, and then eventually continued out of collaboration with my mom. In late 2018, my mom admitted to being very sick again, needing heart surgery after chemotherapy complications. For the next year and a half, my family was in and out of the hospital, complication after complication, on a pretty weekly basis. This is when I started Sending Thoughts and Prayers. I say that I created it out of necessity because once I became aware of the reality I was now living in, I was unable to face it myself. I hid behind my camera, making photos quietly, as a self-defense mechanism because it was easier to put up a physical barrier between my mom and I than see it for myself. The first images I created during the first few weeks were primarily made on a small 35mm film camera. The only camera I was able to get through hospital security, really. Because of the state my mom was in, I used light from the windows, pretty terrified of setting off my flash as I was completely unaware of what complications that may or may not cause. I didn't know if a single image would come out, as I had very limited light and very limited equipment. But once I had the first few rolls back, I decided this was something I wanted to keep working on. At this point in my education and career, I was really uncertain what kind of work I wanted to be making. I was 21 and in my second year of a photography program, which felt mostly geared towards fashion. But after making those first few images in the hospital, I became more and more interested in real-life stories. This is when I started to explore what documentary photography was and could be. Through research of other photographers, I found Emmett Gowan and Latoya Ruby Frazier. Once I found Latoya Ruby Frazier's The Notion of Family, my perspective of photography completely changed. I decided to dedicate as much time as possible to continuing my own series with my mother after seeing her series about her family and her mother. When my mom was not at the hospital, she was home, doing very little activity. I took the train home to Long Island at least once a week to assist her in the healing process, and also document as much as I could. At the start, my camera being out through all of this made everybody terribly uncomfortable, except for her. With each day I was photographing her, she became more and more interested in being photographed. Her speech and mobility were limited, so she liked the idea that we were still able to do something, anything together. As she seemed to become healthier, she started to become more vocal about the series. My phone would ring while I was in class, a text from her asking, "Can you come tomorrow? Where are we shooting?" Our options were pretty limited. Her bedroom, the living room, outside around the house, but we made use of every inch, as she couldn't really leave much. Slowly, she started to make suggestions about location and what she might wear. She was a hair colorist for over 30 years, which made her very aware of how important the details could be. As everyone adjusted to us documenting this period of time, I stepped away from my small 35mm camera and transitioned into using medium format. In the warmer months of 2019, we would set her up outside or go for a short walk, making images of what at the time seemed like not very much. Just a day in the life of someone who was trying to learn how to do basic human needs again. Learn how to eat, learn how to talk, learn how to walk. As fall rolled around, we started to try new techniques and various ways of lighting. I started to include myself in the images. We even dabbled in video a little. One day in October, this time last year, she announced to me that she had decided to get another heart surgery in the winter. I didn't think much of it except maybe more images in the hospital. She then said, "You don't mind continuing there, do you?" So we continued on making images of us, our relationship, her, this process, this story. It was what we did and how we spent our time together. The series consumed me. I made very little work during these days that was not about her. In February 2020, my mom went in for another heart surgery and a list of other major procedures. We made self-portraits together in her room the days leading up to her first surgery. I documented her doing just about everything. At this point, I was way too comfortable in the hospital, being that it felt like a second home, and I started bringing in more equipment. Our process was pretty simple. I would join her by her hospital bed, and when we would discuss what kinds of images we would be making that day. She would list what would be happening on her end, and we would decide when was a good time to make the images. I would spend anywhere from 4 to 12 hours a day there. When the pandemic hit in March, the hospitals quarantined. I made a few images at home on my end, and then tried making images of our very limited communication and our FaceTimes. I worked on the other end of it, though, questioning what I was really trying to say. One of the last conversations I had with my mom was about the messages she was receiving on her phone. We were in the hospital, days before her last surgery, and we kept rereading the same words, sending thoughts and prayers. My mom, who was a very strong 110-pound Russian woman, announced from her hospital bed, "How do you even send a thought and prayer?" We shared a laugh over this. But I don't know how you send a thought or a prayer. This is just one of those universal phrases people say in a hard time. And while we found it comical, that she was receiving these words over and over again, we also agreed that there are very few times that people seem to really come together. But things like illness, life versus death, they seem to bring out the humanity in just about everyone. And I think that's why we made these images. It's what we had. It was our experience during this life. This is a story of family. This is a story of mother and daughter, a story about life's process, struggle, and illness. My mother passed away on June 11th, 2020. I have and will continue on this series without her, from my perspective. My hope is to eventually put this body of work into some sort of book. I hope to continue making images about life's realities and sharing stories. This process has encouraged me to try to find a way to continue storytelling and continue making documentary work. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Sabrina, for that heartfelt presentation. It was great to hear your story about you and your mother and how you came up with a project to deal with your reality. A nice tribute to your mother and very well done. Now I have a few questions, but we'll save them for the comment. Everyone, I hope the story and images moved you as well, so please give it a thumbs up, leave comments, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you all for tuning in and the New York Virtual Photo Salon Committee. I'm Levon Hall, and we'll see you soon with some more exciting speakers.